Everyone knows a narcissist. I'm going to talk about narcissistic leadership today. We've seen this so many times, not only in our family relationships, but we've seen it in politics over and over and over again. We've seen this with business leaders that get busted. They are having, major white collar crime, they call it. And a lot of those are associated with a narcissistic leader. So I want to kind of explain to you, maybe, because here's what I want to do. Maybe you work for a narcissistic leader. I want to help you, give you some hacks so that you can take 100% responsibility. And if you're not going to leave your job, at least you know where they're coming from and how to handle them. I had a narcissistic leader for 6 years at a place that I worked at. And it was so aggravating over and over and over again because I did not understand. And I got so emotional and so upset and I wanted to quit about 100 times. And it was like talking to a brick wall, like literally, like I could not get through to them no matter how hard I tried. And I was a leader too. And so it didn't affect me dramatically. They were a little bit over me, but it was just constant barragement. And we're going to see what I'm talking about here. So if you have a narcissistic leader that you're working with and you don't want to quit your job, you need to take 100% responsibility right now to fix the relationship. And I'm not talking about it's not going to be a good relationship. It's going to be toxic. But on your end, it doesn't have to be, because you can be smart enough to know exactly what they're thinking, how they maneuver, what they do, and then you can be able to respond in a way that's right for you. And so that's going to help you out tremendously. Maybe you have tendencies to be narcissistic. Some of you do that, and I've always self-aware enough to recognize everyone is narcissistic. We all covet ourselves. We all want self-preservation. So understanding that narcissistic part of you is really good. Getting into the shadows and the dark work is really helpful. Digging in and accepting that. And then once you accept it, you bring light on it. Shine a flashlight on those dark areas. Bring them out with acceptance and love and work on them. Oh, that's just me being narcissistic. Oh, I get it. Oh, okay. I'm being extremely selfish right now, and I'm trying to do something that's not right. And so in turn, what can I do? Well, I need to go apologize because I already created a mess by me being narcissistic, or I need to go do this or do that or whatever it is. It's super simple. So let's get into what is a narcissistic leader. It's someone who has an inflated sense of self-importance and a deep need for admiration and attention. These are going to give you clues here on how to deal with a narcissistic leader. They think that they're number one. In an organization, they think everything revolves around them, and that if they were not there, the organization would fail. In their minds, their perceptions, their reality. They're living in a whole different narcissistic matrix than what reality truly is. But to them, they will live. A lot of narcissistic people will live and die on the sword. They will literally be ultra loyal as long as they're getting these things met. And so if you have a narcissistic leader, like I said, you want to continue to work there and work with them, you need to understand their sense of self-importance and appeal to that. You can't fight that. You can't bring them into reality. That's not your responsibility. That's going against their free will. So what can you do? Well, okay, there's a game, and I'm going to play this game, and I can play the game in their matrix just as well as I can play the game in my partner's matrix or anybody else. That's what a good leader is. It's evolving and adapting into different people's games, because it's all a game, right? It's gameplay. So, what we view reality is not true reality. We know that. Physics tells us that. So think about this. A narcissistic leader is someone who has an inflated sense of self-importance and a deep need for admiration and attention. So why would you not give them a little bit more admiration, a little bit more attention, especially on things that they do that's morally good? We need more of this. If somebody's a narcissistic leader, if you give them admiration, let's say you're a leader of them and they're a little narcissistic, give them admiration on the things that they do well morally. Give them attention when they do something that is good and selfless. They will learn really quickly because they're all about themselves. They're fast learners and very, very smart. A lot of narcissistic people are super fast to adapt and super smart. A lot of them play chess in their spare time. Because they like the maneuvers, and the board's all about like what they can do and how can they maneuver these pieces around. They are viewing it in a narcissistic way. So a little bit more admiration, a little bit more attention, and then do it properly. They often exhibit a lack of empathy towards others and are willing to exploit those around them. This is where you get angry because you want them to see life through your eyes. That's not going to happen. They have a lack of empathy. You know, the guy that climbed El Capitan and they did all those studies on his documentary, you can read about it, where he claimed it, like just soloing free, no ropes, no nothing. Alex Hommel or something like that, I think is his name. I may be getting that wrong. They tested his brain, and the part that's fear doesn't work hardly. Well, that would explain it. If you didn't have any fear, what could you do? So this lack of empathy is the same scenario. In their brain, they just don't have the empathy. You're not going to get somebody to be as loving as you are. Now, you can give them admiration and attention when they show empathy, and they will learn how to maneuver. They can learn what empathy looks like to benefit them and then use that. That's what they're going to do. They'll exploit those around them to achieve their goals. And this is politics 101, right? So now what's going to happen is they're going to exploit you. They can't help it. Don't take it personal. Do not take it personal. Why? Because they're a narcissistic leader. It's in their nature. Why would you take it personal if you're petting a wolf and they bite your hand? It's a wolf. It's a freaking wolf. You shouldn't be petting it. So if you're going to work with a wolf, then you need to have measures. Like the zookeepers know exactly, they are so in tune to the animals that they spend their life being with, right? I'm not really cool with zoos. Some zoos that are help, like if it's a disabled animal and it can't live out in the wild, that's perfect. It can live in the zoo and they take care of them. I know San Diego Zoo does a ton of work and I know they're bringing back endangered species and all that. I love that. So I'm not like 100% down on zoos. It's just kind of like seeing perfectly healthy animals. But they're going to live their life out, in the zoo and be safe, where out in the wild they would get ripped apart, freeze to death, die, whatever it is. So, there's a dichotomy with that. But they have a lack of empathy. They're going to exploit you. That's part of it. That's the traits of a narcissistic leader. So let's get into how they impact those around them and a little bit more dive into that the narcissism, not just the traits, but the actions that they do, because it's specific to understand what they're doing. So grandiosity. Narcissistic leaders often have this exaggerated sense of self-importance and believe they are special and superior to others. You have to recognize in their brain they think they are better than you, period. But don't take it personal. You know why? Because they think that about everybody. It's not you. You're actually being narcissistic thinking that it's all about you. This is why you think that person doesn't like you all the time or they're trying to undermine you. They're just narcissistic. Once you understand that, it's like diagnose them with that in your head and be like, oh, okay, this is what I know what they're going to do. When you go into a meeting with them, they think they're the most important person in that meeting, even more important than their bosses. They have a strong desire to be recognized as exceptional and are preoccupied with fantasies of success, power, and achievement. Okay, here's keys. Now you can start unlocking their brain. You're getting to understand them. So now it's your responsibility to be creative in the way that you work with them. They may boast about their accomplishments and exaggerate their abilities and achievements. Okay, you're not going to get upset when they start boasting. You know this is what they do. They're going to talk all about what they do. In the meeting, you're not going to let it destroy your personality. You're not going to sit there and be in a bad mood and ruin your department because they're going on and on about how great they are and people are eating it up and you're like, oh my God, can't people see this? This is so ridiculous. And then it puts you in a bad mood. And then when it comes time for you to share, you're totally on a low vibration and you've let that narcissistic person, that's their nature, you've let the wolf affect you. The wolf is doing what the wolf does. It's in his nature. Lack of empathy. I want to get into this a little bit more. They don't understand and they cannot connect with emotions of others. You have to get that. In their brain is wired differently. They cannot connect with the emotion of others. And if you're an empathic person, a lot of times narcissistic people will prey on people that are empathic. It's just that opposites, the polarity thing. They may see others as mere tools to achieve their own goals. That's what they do. And they're going to exploit and manipulate those without concern for their well-being. You have to understand that. They're not concerned for you. You thinking that they are, and this can go for relationships or whatever, so I want you guys to understand this. You thinking that they are is fools. It's fool's gold. It's not real. You got to say, here's a narcissistic leader. Here's who I work with. Here's how and if you're in a relationship with a narcissistic person, I would think about getting out. These are your options. I'm not going to go against your free will, but I would seriously look at how can I be in a relationship with someone that's just all about themselves. They may also lack insight into their own emotions and motivations. They don't know. All they know a lot of times is just move forward in success and just play the game of success. That's a lot of them do, which can make it difficult for them to develop genuine relationships. A lot of times they don't have any true relationships. They'll have tons of divorces because they can maneuver and manipulate somebody. And then after a year of the relationship, 6 months, 2 years, it usually goes sideways. Why? Because the fun goes away and you begin to start seeing all this gaslighting and what's going on. So this need for admiration that they have. They're going to seek out praise, validation from others. We know this. And get this, they become angry or resentful when they do not receive it. So if you're working with somebody that's narcissistic and they're another leader, or your boss is narcissistic, you need to understand he's going or she's going to get angry and resentful if you don't give them praise and validation. So find good things that they do. I know this is going to kill you. Find good things that they do and let them know it. Be more vocal than you would with others. This is working. This is 101. Emotional intelligence 101. Understanding this is being a leader, leading up and leading down. So I know I need to give this person a little bit more praise and validation. Now, I'm not going to be false about it, and I'm not going to be untruthful, but when they do something great or when they do something that's empathetic, I'm going to tell them because they're going to just repeat those patterns. And that's going to help the organization, right? You getting in a bad mood and getting pissed off over a narcissistic leader doesn't help anyone. Doesn't help you, doesn't help those that you lead, and does not help the organization. This is why we have to figure this out. They may also be highly sensitive to criticism and may react with hostility or defensiveness when their actions are questioned or challenged. So you know this. They're highly sensitive. So you need to be a little bit more creative if you're going to give criticism. That's why coaching works so good, because you can ask them. You don't have to give them criticism. Ask them. A lot of times narcissistic people will be overly hard on themselves. They turn into victims really quick when something goes bad. When something goes good, they take all the credit. They're moving forward. They're the best person in the world. This is extreme emotions. And when they do something bad, or it's kind of like revealed, the light shined on something that they've done wrong, they just take all the blame. They take, and many of you have been in a relationship with this type of person, so you get this. But you don't get it enough to put it into practice that you don't let that person affect you emotionally, spiritually, mentally, or physically. So they're going to be hostile and defensive. So this is where coaching comes in. I talk about this all the time. If you question their actions or challenge them, or you mention this to other people and then those people gossip, which they're going to do, and share with the narcissistic leader because they know that he's going to get riled up, people can't help that. So don't talk bad about a narcissistic leader to anyone. Don't. I know you want to. I know you and Jim get together and love to talk shit, but you don't know if Jim's telling him or not to maneuver on his good side, because people want to get on a narcissistic leader's good side, which is usually just temporary anyways, because they roll everybody under the bus because they don't want to get rolled under the bus, right? So it's just defensive posturing. So you talking shit to Jim's turning around and telling Susan, the narcissistic leader. Sense of entitlement. They believe they are entitled to special treatment and privileges. Why get upset when you see them doing this? They think that they deserve it all. They may expect others to cater to their needs and may become angry or resentful when they did not receive or feel what they deserve. That's why coaching, ask them. You will reveal a narcissistic person because they will be more than happy to talk about themselves. In a relationship too, you could do this. Ask questions. What do you feel like you deserve? What are some of the things that you feel like you need right now in the organization that you're not getting? They'll tell you, well, I've done the best in this and done the best in this, and I've really done this, but these people don't see it, and blah blah blah. They're going to reveal themselves, and then after that, say what else? Well, really, Jason, to be honest, they're going to feel like they're communicating amazing with you because you're listening to them, and they're going to tell you everything, and then from there, you can gather a game plan of what they said. They may also exploit others to achieve their own goals without concern for the consequences or impact of others. They're short-term game people. They do not think long-term. It's all short-term for them. This is where you see a lot of people going to jail in the white-collar sector because they're super narcissistic leaders. They think short-term. How can I cheat? What hack can I do? How can I make it about me? How do I look good? They don't care. That's why politicians, they like the 4-year mark, right? I don't care after 4 years. I just want to look good for these 4 years. And then try to get elected for another 4 on both sides. Lack of accountability. Narcissistic leaders often have a tendency to blame others for their failures or mistakes. So when you're coaching and asking them, they're not going to be defensive because you're just asking questions. When they start blaming a ton of other people for their failures or mistakes, don't correct them, just listen. And then ask them how to fix it. And then steer them in that. This is where a good leader comes in. You steer them in a direction of how they look like. You always want everybody to be the hero, right? Everybody has a hero's journey. How do you make that other person? This is the same with clients, right? Why would you not treat your employees like your clients? Every client, you want to make them feel like they're the hero. Every customer should feel like they're the hero. When they buy their product, it's going to make them better and make them a hero. Every employee should feel like they're a hero at your work. They may be clearly at fault. And they're going to use their power and influence to evade the consequences. They're going to talk to whoever they need to talk to and shift the blame and roll people under the bus so that they don't have to take any responsibility. That's just part of their lack of accountability. So I want to talk about this in an organization. If you are a leader and you have a narcissistic leader in your organization, what's the impact of that? Or you're in a relationship with a narcissistic person, what's going to happen? Narcissistic leaders may create a toxic work environment. They will. And may cause high levels of stress and burnout. That's what they're going to do because everybody wants to be a hero, but there's only one hero allowed in the whole organization, and that's this person. They're going to make poor decisions. They're going to look at return on investment only and how they can make more money if they're in sales, and they'll screw everybody else. They're going to lie to the clients. It'll negatively impact the organization. In extreme cases, narcissistic leaders may engage in unethical or illegal behavior, which can have serious consequences, not only for them, for others, because they're short-term. You have to understand that. You can ask a narcissistic leader, what is in your department, what does that look like long-term? Or ask them, how can they negate risk? So in your department, how would we negate risk in our sales department? How, maybe they're leading, a narcissistic leader is leading your sales department. How can we make sure that we're safe? And what I want you to do next week, let's get together and I want you to create a way of how we can create safety in narcissists so we don't get in a lawsuit. Have them come up with it. They'll do it and then what do? This is so awesome. This is great. We just need to tweak a few things. I think I'll have the attorneys look at it and then we'll get back. But you know what, Bill, it's an amazing job. This is great. This is going to help us. This is going to save us. Now he can claim ownership. The narcissistic leader claim ownership of what he did. Now it's his rules. So he's going to go and make sure that the subordinates follow those. So now you've just eliminated this illegal behavior, unethical. You may not eliminate it. Depends how narcissistic they are. In conclusion, narcissistic leadership is characterized by traits such as grandiosity, lack of empathy, a need for admiration, sense of entitlement, and a lack of accountability. Now, you're going to get short-term success from these leaders, and when you hire them, they may hide it. They know how to kind of the wolf in sheep's clothing, and then the wolf comes out over time. But you're going to see tons of success, and everybody's going to praise them. They're going to love that, and they may even have more success. But 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road, like with their relationship, it all comes out. The negative consequences start coming out. They start rolling people under the bus. So it is important to recognize these traits, take steps to address them through coaching, and see how narcissistic they are on a scale of 1 to 10. When you start working with them, if you see a little bit of narcissism, start, I think this could be a narcissistic leader. Well, let me see how narcissistic he is. Does he have this under control? Because a little bit of narcissism can help being a leader, just a little bit. But at the end of the day, to be truly enlightened, if you want to use that word, it should be service to others. That's what it's about. So I hope this helps you guys. I would listen to this again, take some notes, find some coaching. I may make another podcast on how to coach a narcissistic leader. If that's something you guys want, DM me, ABQ Jason Rigby. That's what I am on Instagram. Also, I'm thinking about, because I'm having a lot of people not understand the ABQ part. And I know I live in Albuquerque, and that's kind of what the name is, but I'm thinking about just having it like Jason Rigby podcast, or one of the things I was thinking about too, so I'm debating between that and the self-aware leader, because I always talk about self-awareness. So I'm thinking about naming it the self-aware leader. And let me know. Like I said, DM me if that's something that you think is positive, or you think it's negative, you want to keep it the same. Either way, would love to hear from you. I love all the comments. You guys are putting comments on YouTube and Instagram. I'm getting Snapchats. Love all that. Twitter, I get DMs on those, and you can follow me on all those at ABQ Jason Rigby. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thanks to our sponsor, RigbyDigital.com. Make sure to subscribe and share. And go to abqpodcast.com. Get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner.